Jonathan Hickman's X-Universe expands this week with the release of 2 new X-Men spin-off titles. We got X-Force #1 and New Mutants #1. And it looks like this release of 2 issues a week is going to be the new norm, at least in November. The next couple weeks have got 2, if not 3 X-Men books coming out, which is a change of pace from what's been happening so far with Hickman's run on House of X, Powers of 10, and the new books, X-Men, Marauders, and Excalibur, where there has been just 1 issue a week. But now we're really starting to expand, get back to what is normal or has been normal for X-Men going back since at least the 1990s. I mean, you know it's pretty standard for X-Men books to release, the X-Universe to have 12, 13, 14, 15 books in a month. So that means multiple titles a week. And this week, with the release of New Mutants and X-Force, I think it's an interesting choice because longtime fans, of course, remember that the original volume of New Mutants ended at 100 and immediately transformed with the same writer-artist team, Liefeld and Nicieza, into X-Force #1. So there are a lot of returning characters for longtime fans from those older volumes, but there are also a couple of key characters that are missing. Number 1 on that list probably being Cable. There's no Cable to be found, and as it stands now in continuity, Cable's a teenager, so they're putting him in Fallen Angels, which is coming out pretty soon. But the other teenagers are the teenagers you may remember from the 80s, the 1980s, that original volume of New Mutants. A lot of those characters are back, even if they passed away, such as Ronnie Sinclair, Wolfsbane, thanks to the Krakoan magic brought to us by Egg and the rest of the team that can resurrect mutants. Wolfsbane is back, as are all the other New Mutants that you know and love and have forgiven for being supervillains, because they were supervillains like 20 years ago. I mean, this was Moonstar went bad and joined the Mutant Liberation Front. Sunspot went bad, became sort of a crazy villain. And then they just kind of, hand-waved that off panel in between the Age of Apocalypse issues. He's good again. And of course, Mondo, a character that I barely remember, but he's back in this new issue of New Mutants. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about the plot of New Mutants and the plot of X-Force. So spoilers for that ahead. And whatever you thought of this issue too, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. So let me know what you think about what's going on in these books in the comments below. So to start with, I read New Mutants first, and it's pretty entertaining. I think at first I was a little thrown off by the fact that there wasn't a clear inciting incident. Like in terms of plot, it's mostly teenagers hanging out and then, through bad decisions, getting in trouble, not listening to authority, not listening to their elders, and then ending up in a sticky situation. But, the more I think about it, the more I realize, well, that's teenagers. This is sort of an accurate representation of what they're like. But, I already mentioned Wolfsbane is back from the dead, so we start the issue with Professor X and Storm reviving her in one of the Krakoan pods. So she's come back to life. She sees all of her old friends, the older members of New Mutants, although they're all still, strangely enough, teenagers after all these years. It really takes some sort of time travel shenanigans most of the time for these characters to age up or down in the case of Cable. But, everyone's hanging out in Krakoa, everyone's having a good time. Even Mondo, who, the last I remembered from way back in the day, like 93, 94, 95, 96, he was a spy for Black Tom Cassidy. Like, he was a supervillain that was going undercover in Generation X, sort of the follow-up team to New Mutants, the next school for gifted youngsters after the original New Mutants class went off and became X-Force. But like I was saying, it's kind of strange to see Mondo here as a good guy and not a spy under the thumb of Black Tom Cassidy. So if I could skip over to X-Force for a second, this is another interesting twist, I think. I'm not sure how much this was planned out, but Mondo in New Mutants is, absorbing organic matter. This is his power, and there's a part where the island Krakoa is able to actually speak through him, speak through his stomach, literally. It's kind of strange, and Douglas Ramsey's Cypher sees it, and he's like, "Oh, that's kind of gross. I'm never going to be able to sleep again." And the island's just like, "I hope you can. Sleep's important for you." But that's interesting because at the same time, same week, new issue of X-Force comes out. Black Tom Cassidy's in there, and he's doing pretty much the same thing. He's talking to the island, and taking in this organic matter, and he's got a different twist on it. He's saying like the worms are twisting inside us. It's more about looking out for predators. That's kind of the dramatic tension in that issue of X-Force. But back to New Mutants just for a second before we go to X-Force. In New Mutants, the kids, they're having fun. They've invented Krakoan coffee. They love it. Magic is threatening other characters who want to take her coffee. Again, this sort of obsession with this, and then whiskey later on in the issue. I'm like, why do they care so much about coffee and whiskey? And then I'm like, again, oh yeah, teenagers, they love this stuff. But they're having so much fun. There's no, like I said, there's no inciting incident, but they're thinking, who would be fun to have here? Our old friend Cannonball, Sam Guthrie. But he's up in space. He's in Shi'ar space. So they want to go see him. How are they going to get there? Krakoan portal isn't going to be enough. They have to hitch a ride with the Starjammers. So they do that. The Starjammers take them up to the edge of Shi'ar space at the colony of Benevolence, which, not long-time readers, but readers who've been paying attention through Powers of 10 will remember as what's going to end up in the future or the past future of one of Moira's previous lives as a final holdout, place, colony for the mutants who have been chased off-world by Nimrod and the Homo Novissima. But at this point, it's just a Shi'ar outpost and trouble. This is when finally trouble begins, but it's trouble that New Mutants bring on themselves because the Starjammers tell them, stay on the ship while we go and handle this situation. It's actually pirate stuff. But the New Mutants, they don't want to stay put. They go. Everyone except for Sunspot initially, because they trick Sunspot wants to listen to authority. So they trick him into staying behind by saying, hey, let's drink some whiskey. Why don't you go get the whiskey? So he does that, and then the rest of the New Mutants portal away with Magic's help and end up in trouble. They actually end up, the end of the issue is they're under arrest by these Shi'ar guards because they get blamed for the theft. Is it minor, is it major, or is it galactic theft? But whatever theft that the Starjammers have actually done. So that's the cliffhanger there. How will they get out of this mess? Well, they really only have themselves to blame, and I guess a little bit Corsair, who's a terrible father and a terrible father figure. But I'm looking forward to the next issue. And again, or for the first time, I'll mention the art by Rod Reis is a lot of fun because it's kind of a throwback to Sienkiewicz's style in the first volume. So if you remember War Bear from back, or Demon Bear from back in the day, or the new one-shot War Children that just came out from Chris Claremont and Sienkiewicz this year, this will probably remind you of that. So speaking of X-Force really briefly, this is a little different. I want to compare this to Excalibur from last week because I'm really comparing the characters of on the one hand Wolverine, on the other hand Apocalypse here, whereas in Excalibur last week, Apocalypse is saying, it's great. Krakoa's safe, everyone's going to be vibrant and happy and healthy and wealthy and wise and grow up strong because of that, which is, as we all know, goes against Apocalypse's character. But in this issue, we're seeing some pushback from the Krakoan islands somehow. Like there's wild pigs, there's predators, there's always a predator, right? And Wolverine starts to realize this. Up to this point, Krakoa, everyone was feeling like they were safe, but now there's predators attacking. And that's kind of when you're in Wolverine's line, when you're safe, you're soft, bub. But there's more than just the predators on the island. There's predators coming in from off the island. We've got the appearance of what looks like the Reavers. I don't think they're identified in this issue by name, but it looks like Donald Pierce in the Reavers. So we'll see where that goes. I mean, pretty much the X-Men take care of them, but there are sacrifices in the firefight as the Reavers drop onto Krakoa and attack all the X-Men, all the mutants. They get some casualties, and one of those is Professor X. Is he dead? Spoiler alert, I have not read the next issue, but I have to say, no, probably not. I doubt he's dead. I think he's going to be okay. And again, it's really going to be hard to build any sort of tension. Even normally, it's tough to build tension for character deaths in Marvel Comics because they're always coming back. But now, especially in X-Men, when they have like these Krakoan pods and they're able to come back so readily, unless they have a plot point that deals with that, I'm always going to be thinking every time someone kicks the bucket, well, they'll be fine. They can just grow them in another pod, call up Hope and Egg and all the rest, and they'll be okay. So that was it for these 2 new issues of X-Men, New Mutants and X-Force that came out this week. So what'd you think? Let me know in the comments, and of course I always ask, if you liked this video, go ahead and smash that like button. If you're not already subscribed, please do so and ring the bell for notifications. And you may notice I've been drawing my own version of Colossus, Cyclops, and Magic. Today, I am a bit of an artist, just a bit though, not that great. If you're an artist yourself, I'd love to see what you're working on. And remember, if you want to get better as an artist, you got to keep drawing, you got to draw every day. So until next time, keep at it, keep working on your own art, and let me know how you're doing in the comments below. And I'll see you next time.